tears forming in my eyes and then slowly running down my cheeks. I know now it was my 4-year-old's lack of courage that prevented me from telling her just what the games were that Phil and I wanted her to stop. If only I'd waited until I was a little older, then I could have told her all about the new game that he'd invented, the one we particularly hated. He called it the up and down game. It consisted of him running his hands down our stomachs before sliding his fingers under the elastic of our shorts. "Ah, got them," he would say each time his fingers wrapped firmly around our small penises. And we would look up at his face flushed with excitement and just pray for the game to be over. Not that he was in a hurry to end it. Once he held us both so tightly in his hands we were scared of moving. He waited a few seconds until there was not so much as a wriggle stirring our bodies, and then those long, thin fingers of his would start rubbing the parts of our bodies we thought were just used for peeing. "Oh, you're going to be big boys, all right," he would mutter, as he felt those small parts of us stiffening against his grasp. I wanted to say, "Stop, I'll tell Mum," but I was petrified and knew by Phil's expression that he felt the same. I once tried to wriggle from his grip and he squeezed my penis so hard it sent a fierce stabbing pain through me. No, I did not tell my mother about that. In fact, for 12 years I refused to breathe a word about those games of Clive's. Instead, I tried to block out what was happening as though not talking about it stopped what he was doing to us being real, and so the waves of shame playing with my mind had no place there, although for a long time I believe the anger coiled up inside me did. Over those years, I only allowed myself to remember what I told my brother when I left the kitchen and went to our bedroom, where he was waiting anxiously for me. "Did you tell her?" he asked, and I, the older twin, said yes. "And what did she say?" "Not to be rude." Just uttering those few words planted the seed of belief that I had told my mother, a belief that became stuck in my head for all of those 12 years. And with that belief came my increasing resentment and more anger towards the person I still loved. It was not until I was made to see just how big a danger Clive was to children that I had to dig deep into those memories and bring them all to the surface. Chapter 2. Ryan. To understand Phil's and my story, I need to introduce you to a few of our family members that come in and out. Of course, there's Mum and Dad's sons, Ian and Alan. Then there's Warren, my mother's first son, and finally Leighton, Mum and Dad's son. I'm going to let you see a little of their past as well as the present, for the foundations of our lives were laid over 2 decades before we were born. But then isn't that true of most people's families? It is only since Mum's eldest son, Warren, sat filling me down and told us about another pandemic, the one in the 50s, that I thought I was finally getting to know our mother. I wonder whether, had I known about her early years much sooner, I would have become that difficult teenager who blamed her for not making our lives safer. I'd like to think I wouldn't. It was only when, with Warren's help, I was able to picture not the mother I knew but the person she had once been, that I began to see her in a different light. I wished then that we could have stepped into a time machine, whirled ourselves back to the 1950s, and met the girl he had finally managed to show us. I had to brush away those embarrassing tears swimming in my eyes when Warren told me how, before she had celebrated her 5th birthday, Mum had woken with a blinding headache and a prickling in her legs. I should think she must have been terrified. Being young then did not protect children from hearing frightening stories about that 50s pandemic. During the years before a vaccine was discovered, polio instilled fear in many households. Between September and April of each year, it hibernated in winter's dark shadows. During those months when people caught colds and flu, instead of looking forward to summer's warm days, parents dreaded its return. They knew that once the sun burst through the layers of grey clouds, the virus's tentacles would be ready to stretch across the country, wrapping its poison around children from the overcrowded city areas. During that summer of 1955, my grandparents, like most families in the UK, turned on their radio to listen to the 6 o'clock news. The BBC commentators kept the public informed religiously on where the latest outbreaks had taken place, as well as names of the schools that had to be closed. While parents did not wish their children to go to bed scared, they could not stop them from hearing about it. If it wasn't from their parents' conversations or the radio, their friends' older siblings told them scary stories about the virus. Outside in the streets, horror stories about polio had replaced the ones previously about bogeymen. The children who repeated them might have taken a delight in watching the smaller one's eyes grow as big as saucers, but no doubt at night, the storyteller